If you feel like you want to side with a villain, then you must check yourself. Perhaps you have a tendency to become a psychopath. Sounds strange, yes? I was just joking, so don't worry. It's something natural. And I wanted to discuss about that today because I've been fascinated in a long while by bad characters, both in movies and literature, but especially cinema. So I wanted to delve a little bit more into this and into the reason as to why we, or at least some of us, feel drawn towards them. And I arrived to the conclusion that obviously we like the fact that they are charismatic and that they emanate a certain aura, which is also probably due to the fact that they are doing something morally condemnable, but which brings them a lot of pleasure. I've heard that actors who play the villain enjoy very much doing so. Perhaps these are the characters that they enjoy tremendously to enact. And I believe it's because usually society doesn't allow us to express all our penchants, our desires, our dark inclinations. So there is a certain amount of repressed feelings and instincts that the villain isn't afraid to give vent to. And that, I think, speaks volumes about how our human nature deep down is emotional, and it is tied up to animals. Because let's face it, despite our so cherished and treasured logic, at heart we are emotional beings, and I'm saying it as a good thing or a bad thing, but our instincts are also very strong, and there is something about the fact that such unusual characters, they liberate their visceral side, so to speak. They are not afraid of being natural monsters, because nature per se is not good or bad. You see a crocodile devouring a deer or a bird, or a tiger attacking and catching its prey, and we contemplate these feats with kind of resignation, because that's how nature is, and we think of animals as purely instinctual creatures who live only in the present moment, which is very good for them. But I think perhaps we should also accept this side of our psyche, that we are brought to control in order to function normally in the society. And I don't want to bash on our bash our rules concerning morality and politeness. They are good to function as a group, but we must also acknowledge our dark side in order to feel whole and use it in self-defense especially. And I know that sounds a little bit anti-moral, and I'm not saying that we should all embrace what we could become if we crossed all the borders imposed to us by our culture and education. However, we can do that in a more subtle way, which is by acknowledging this shadow, this side that we don't like to talk about a lot of times. And that's when villains come to play, especially when their actions are motivated and the line between good and bad is not very well designated. So because we can identify with them and we can feel what they are doing on a emotional level, and it feels like we are also expressing our feelings that we are not encouraged usually to express. And I think that's very fascinating, and I am a person who adores a lot of villains and takes sides with them often. I don't know why. Maybe I have a demon sleeping inside me, a beast, a dormant beast, waiting to take hold of me. But if jokes aside, I think that's the case with all humanity in a way or another. And I think it's healthy to recognize it and be aware when it clicks, when something purely instinctual and not totally conscious that takes hold of you, and they usually say that there is an unconscious side, that we do some things that without our willing, without our intention, without even realizing it. And that's because we are not aware of them. And that makes our unconscious side more ample, bigger, because we are not aware. But if we focus within ourselves, we can make a lot of our reactions and actions conscious. And yeah, and yes, paradoxically, if you let our dark side out more and more, we feel better because it's like our soul is being cleansed, you know. And it sounds counterintuitive at first, but the best way to control your actions and dark, deep impulses is to let them surface a little bit, you know. If you are aware of them, when you have that inner urge and you let that happen and you are not fighting against it, it usually stops. But you have to allow it to manifest. And that requires constant attention and sort of craziness to let yourself just go with the flow and accept that you might not be able to control it, and be at peace with this realization, and don't judge yourself too harshly, which I'm completely sure that you know that it goes against what we are usually taught. But you know, there comes a point in the life of each of us, and I'm sure you went through this too, when you have to question if what your parents have taught you and those around you, of course having good intentions and thinking about your future, your best future, if all of that is actually correct, and if perhaps you might modify it, if not reject it. But that's a lot to talk about, but I just want to give a tribute to our villains, especially to Hannibal Lecter from the series Hannibal, played brilliantly, masterfully, with a lot of presence and chill charisma by Mads Mikkelsen, who is one of my favorite actors. But and he's very cool. And that's another fact, another interesting aspect about villains. They have a certain charisma. They flow because they are not afraid of their animalistic side, and it's sort of mesmerizing and attractive, at least to certain people, amongst which I would include myself. And we also encounter a lot of charming villains in anime. For example, my number one anime villain is L from Death Note. Light. It's Light from Death Note. Who has if you've seen it, that's wonderful. And with whom I took sides, and I wanted him to win in the end. but unfortunately he didn't. Although I've heard that the creator originally intended for him to be the victor. And I suppose they gave up on this idea because it might seem against the rules of morality so cherished by our society. And another one who is very prominent too and very deep and is Madara Uchiha from Naruto. He might be the coolest villain of all time, you know, because he also has a sort of pride about his son, sort of dignity, even though he doesn't control his ego, never. And it's strange how we are attracted, even in real life, sometimes to selfish people. It's as if we are creating a sort of black hole of energy, and they attract us, their desires and instincts, which primarily are chemicals, meaning energy, attract others. And I suppose that's true. I suppose that's true. And that's very captivating to me. And I'd like to know what you think about it and who's your favorite villain. And let me know in the comments what you think about it. And I hope that you enjoyed the video.